Good morning and good afternoon, kids. This is Teacher Gigi, and for today we are going to learn science. Before we start, can you please get your workbook and open it on page 14 and 15? Are you ready? Let's start. So, last week we have talked about the non flowering and flowering plants. So, for today we are going to learn parts of a flower. So we have different common flower parts. Number one, anther. Can you say anther? Number two, filament. Filament. Very good. Number three, petal. Petal. Very good. Number four, sepal. Sepal. Very good. Number five, ovary. Ovary. Very good. Next, style. Style. And last, stigma. Stigma. Very good. So flower parts or a flower has two reproductive parts, the male and the female. The male reproductive part, we have stamen. Stamen. And when we say female reproductive part, it is the pistil. Pistil. Very good. So let's start with sepals. Okay. What is a sepal? Sepal protects the flower while it is still a bud. So, a flower starts from a very small bud, right? So, when a flower is still a bud, sepal serves as a protection for the flower. Okay? This color green is called as sepal. It protects the flower. Okay, that is sepal. Number two, petals. Petals. So petals attracts insects and other animals which help to pollinate the flower. Okay, again, petals attracts insects and other animals. So petals are usually the part of a flower which is the beautiful part with different colors. So they are beautiful so that they can attract other insects or animals to help them pollinate. So just like the bees, when the bee can see flowers, they give pollen to the flower. Next, stamen. Stamen, the male reproductive part of a flower. Again, stamen is the male reproductive part. So stamen has two parts, the anther and the filament. Again, stamen has two parts, anther and filament. So when you see a flower, if you see like this one, a circular one and the long body, it is the anther and the filament. So what is an anther and filament? Anther contains the pollen grains in a flower. Anther contains the pollen grains in a flower, while filament holds the anther up in the flower. So while the anther is containing the pollen grains, the filament helps the anther to stay up in the flower. Again, anther contains pollen grains. Filament holds the anther. Next, pistil. Pistil. So, pistil is the female reproductive part of a flower. Again, stamen is the male reproductive part and the female is the pistil. So, pistil has three parts, stigma, style, and ovary. So, the ovary has ovules. The ovary has ovules. Again, pistil has three parts: stigma, style, and ovary. That is the pistil. So stigma, it is the sticky part of the pistil. It traps pollen grains. Okay, look at this picture, the red one. This is the stigma, the red one. It traps pollen grains. And when it has pollen grains, it will give it to the anther. Again, the stigma traps the pollen grains, and when there is pollen grains, it will give it to the anther. So while the style supports the stigma. So just like the filament, the responsibility of the style is to support the stigma. Again, stigma traps the pollen grains. Style supports the stigma. And the last one is ovary and ovules. So ovary and ovules, they contain female gametes. Okay, so this is an inside of an ovary and the ovule. So this big one is the ovary, and these small seeds is what you call as the ovules. So these ovules can be the next flowers. Okay, so let's have a recap. Again, we have anther. So anther contains the pollen grains. Filament supports the anther. Petal attracts insects. Sepal protects the flower. Ovary contains what? They contain ovule. Stigma traps pollen grains. And the style support the stigma. So what is the male part of the flower? It is the stamen. How about the female? That is pistil. Very good. So now let's try to answer your workbook. Open your workbook, page 14. So the diagram below shows part of a hibiscus flower. So you're going to write in the box what are the parts of a flower. Okay, so for example, we have here petal and sepal. So what is this one? Can you tell me what is this one? Very good. That is very good. That is filament. Okay, you're just going to write it on the box. Another example. How about this one? The one that traps pollen grains. It is the very good, the stigma. Alright. Next, letter A. Label the parts of the flower. Okay. Letter B. Which structures of the flower make up the male reproductive system? Okay, so male reproductive system. What does the male reproductive system or male reproductive part has? The male reproductive part has anther and filament. Very good. How about the female reproductive part? The female reproductive part of a flower. Okay, answer on your own. Next, number 3. Page 15. Match each part of the flower with its correct name and statement. Okay, for example, letter P. So what is letter P? You're going to write a line. Draw a line. Letter P is the, very good, it is the Stigma. Okay. So what does stigma do? What does stigma do? Okay, very good. Okay, draw a line. Stigma receives pollen grains. Very good. Another example, letter Q. So what is letter Q? Letter Q. Letter Q is enter. Very good. Letter Q is enter. Okay. So what does enter do? What does enter do? What does enter do? Very good. Enter contains pollen grains. Okay, did you understand? Okay, answer letter R, S, and letter T. Okay, did you understand? Okay, try to answer on your own. I will see you next week. Bye bye.